Hello, guys, and welcome back to Unrestricted Sports. Today we are talking about the 8th day of the PLL Championship Series. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe before we get into today's episode, guys. It really does help out the channel, and it shows that you like this content. And yeah, let's get right into it. Nolan?
Yeah, so no Ben today. We should have him back for the start of the elimination bracket. But first, we got to cover Atlas Redwoods and Chaos Water Dogs on today's slate. It was a very interesting start. We'll start with the Redwoods Atlas. Very tight game, which was expected in what was a dominant fourth quarter for the Redwoods, with getting the 11-10 win on a somewhat questionable 2-point goal that was called a two-pointer by the refs, but was tipped. So kind of a missed call. Obviously, I'm an Atlas fan, so you could call me biased. But with the amount of angles they showed on that replay, it looked like it was tipped. So I would definitely call some BS on that call. But it is what it is. It's over and done with, and the Redwoods got the win. Another bad performance at the faceoff dot for the Redwoods, going 5 for 20. And finally, a wake-up game for Trevor Baptiste, winning 75% of the faceoffs, going 15 for 20 on the day. We'll start with the breakdown of the Redwoods general game notes. There aren't many. It was just, again, a very gritty game, as to be expected, with some spectacular goalie play mixed in as well. But starting with the Redwoods, you have the king of two-pointers in Sergio Perkovic, who added two two-pointers, in addition to Joe Walters' controversial two-pointer, and then Miles Jones' game-winning two-pointer. And that's honestly the biggest reason why the Redwoods won the game was these two-pointers. Obviously, they had contributions from Garnsey and Brent Adams as well, but the two-pointers made up a large majority of the goals. Like I mentioned, very solid goalie play from Tim Troutner and the Redwoods defense in all, obviously limiting that high-powered Atlas offense to 10 goals. But yeah, you had what was a fairly undisciplined Redwoods team or unit taking less penalties than the Atlas, but that was just kind of a one-time thing for them. It seems to be a continuing thing or a continuing problem for the Redwoods, was just the number of penalties they seem to get per game. Kept that up with 5. They went 3 for 5 on the penalty kill, however, which was good enough to get the victory. Moving on to the Atlas, we saw that the Atlas suffered a 1-goal loss, as previously mentioned. Trevor Baptiste had a ginormous bounce-back game at the face-off dot, and even attributed for the first goal on the day in that game. You had contributions, too, from Ryan Brown and Brian Costabile, again, who seems to be a continuous and growing threat in this league, and one of, if not the best rookie, in addition to Grant Ament, of course. It was nice to see Paul Rabel continuing with his assists, and that goes along with Rob Pennell. Obviously, Christian Cloutier is up there as well, with what seems to be getting a goal in every game now. But like I said, dominant face-off performance for Trevor Baptiste, and a good goalie play from Jack Kincannon. Like I mentioned, 6 penalties, only letting in 2 goals on those 6 penalty kills. But that obviously proved to be a difference maker, considering that they got the loss. For them, these are the final games for them, so that puts the Atlas finishing at 1-3 with a -10 goal differential, and the Redwoods finishing at 2-2 with a -3 goal differential, which pretty much solidifies the Redwoods finishing 4th in the league, and the Atlas finishing 5th or 6th, depending on that of the Water Dogs Chaos game. So, moving on to Water Dogs Chaos, we had another OT thriller on our hands with Water Dogs winning 10-9. Again, just an OT crazy game between these two teams. Obviously, the all-defeated teams until this game, Water Dogs got their first win in team history, which was a very important win for them, which saw Matt DeLuca get the start and Matt DeLuca get the win with a 55% save percentage, which isn't too bad for his first ever game in the PLL. Speaking of the Water Dogs, You had another dominant faceoff performance from them, going 18 for 22. Obviously, that is split between Drew Simino and Jake Withers, which proves to be a dominant duo. Like I've mentioned with the Water Dogs in the past, you have very impressive play from Kieran McCardle and Zach Courier, with 3 goals from Courier and 2 assists coming from Kieran McCardle on the day. But what more so interesting was the play of Christian Cuccinello, who I figured would play a bigger role, but really hasn't stepped into that role until today. Again, the Water Dogs defense proves to be relatively strong, with that of Brody Merrill and BJ Grill. Obviously, Merrill, the voice of the defense, picking up on a majority of the ground balls there. Water Dogs dominated in the ground ball game against the Chaos, 47-24. No shock there, seeing how the Chaos have been playing in previous games in this tournament. Moving on, the trend continues with the Chaos. Very impressive play from Blaze Reardon, but in front of him you have disappointing defense, disappointing face-off, and disappointing attack group, and middies, obviously. Connor Fields finally kind of came to life with 2 goals in this one. Curtis Dixon, like we've mentioned in the previous Chaos games, always seems to have his name up on the player stats board. And then, of course, Sergio Salcido crawls his name into that mix with 1 goal in this game. But I think this is finally a solidifying moment in which we can see that Miles Jones is indeed the better part of that trade between Salcido and Jones. Obviously, these are the last 2 games for these 2 teams heading into the elimination round, and the Whip Snakes Archers game will determine who these 2 teams end up playing. Obviously, the Chrome will be the worst team in the league. But yeah, general game notes wise, not much here. Just a game of continuing trends for these 2 teams, but it finally saw the Water Dogs get their first win. So yeah, I definitely, like I've mentioned, and like Ben has said, the Water Dogs are that team that could possibly be the Chrome of next season in terms of record-wise not having a great record, but then next season proving everybody wrong. But then again, Chaos, being the best team in the league last season, is now the worst team in the league this season. So it'll be interesting to see how those teams shake out. I don't imagine either of these 2 teams will make it past the first round and the elimination round. But like we've mentioned countless times, you cannot count any team out until they are actually out. So that's all I have to say on these 2 games. Like I've mentioned, pretty continuous trends in these games, nothing really new. But yeah, we will be back tomorrow to cover the battle of the undefeated teams between the Whip Snakes and the Archers, in what should be a thrilling game for sure.
All right. Well, that's pretty much it for today's episode, guys. Make sure to comment and subscribe, like I said at the beginning of the video, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.